Zoryna and I are thrilled to have this opportunity to share with you some very practical, immediately doable, immediately shareable things. And it is our ardent desire that they will be useful for you and help you in this time. Zoryna, do you want to just say a quick hello to everyone?
Thank you, Vanda, and hello to everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to be at this meeting today. Because I know that we have to go through a lot of material now, I will give floor back to Vanda.
Marvelous. Thank you, Zoryna. So we will dash forward with the first of the slides, starting with the end in mind. And I think I want to say what I think are really important things. One is to raise your awareness of where you are, because when you're aware of where you are, you can then deal with it. And the second thing is control. One of the worst things you can do to a human is make them feel that they're not in control. And with everything that's going on in this day and age, particularly, it is very easy to feel control has been taken away. And so, what I want to say is, you always have control over you. And so, today's entire focus is giving you that feeling of control of you regardless of what happens around you. So that's what the end is for us, is to be able to give you that. We want to be sure that you start with you. I know many of you are juggling families and work and homes and a lot of things at the moment. So you must take care of you. Vicky said in the beginning, it's so easy when things start to get overwhelming, you go to the bottom of the pile. Put yourself in as a meeting with yourself and make sure you do. Then you can take care of your family, you can work with your team, and you can be the best you possibly can be. Now, you may have seen this amazing curve. It was originally created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and we have slightly changed it to be more appropriate for what's going on today. So starting over here, I think a month ago, and it is just a month now, just over a month, we were all a little bit in shock. What on earth is this? How can this happen? It's nothing you can see, but we're just getting the stories, which leaves us to denial and all of the fake news, which is still rampant, people thinking, no, this isn't real, but it is. And that leads us to frustration, which is where Vicky was visiting. And a lot of us do, because we've been doing this for a month. And whereas it might have started off being a little bit exciting and different, then there comes a time when all of those little things start to gather up, and it becomes frustrating. It can very easily become depressing. And this is really important. It's a red flag waving time. Be careful, take attention. However, hang in there, because it will grow and come back up into acceptance. All right, this is how things are. I've somehow got to get on with it. Then a little bit of excitement about experimenting. What can we do? And then to, okay, this is the new normal. But let me go on to the next slide, because what I've given to you, and there is a pack that you will get that has in it a whole lot of backup material. One is this complete slide deck with how to do each of these activities written underneath it, and lots of other backup materials are there for you as well. So this one is a blank one, and it's for you to take and run off for yourself. And I really highly recommend that you do this with your family, with your team. Maybe check in once a week and say, where are you? When we do this in a workshop, we often put down a long piece of rope in this shape of the curve. And then we have people stand as to where they're feeling at the moment, and then talk about it from their different perspectives. And that's a very powerful activity. What this diagram has is these arrows. And I think even in the Changemaker group, and here we are in the business of change, when we've been having our chats, First of all, there was a lot of excitement. Oh, new things, lots of change. Yes, we can experiment. Let's find new stuff we can do. And then recently I've noticed people have been slipping back into frustration and a little bit of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? So allow for the fact that you're going to go backwards and forwards. But when you know that that's a possibility, then what you can do is be there for each other. So one of you is bound to be up on the feeling good when one of you is down here. And that helps to balance everybody and keep you all going strongly. Now, this slide is one that is very easy for you to replicate and is able for you to be able to get a lot of information in a short time. So on a slice of paper or a flip pad, draw a line. This is your stress level. Now, let me talk about what do I mean with that. Stress is on us all the time. If you are alive, you are stressed. And so consequently, there will be more of it or less of it. And sometimes being down here with low stress is positive. It's the stuff that's going on. It's the light on you. It's whether you had breakfast or not. It's whether you've exercised or not. It's how you're feeling in your clothes, all the physical things before you start to add all of the emotional things and the thinking things and the external things. So this will always be happening. But the point that's so important is how are you responding? Down here, what is your strain level? Now, maybe quite a lot of you were up here, you have a lot of stress. And what's the reaction on you? Are you feeling really like, oh my gosh, I'm frustrated, I'm not managing, I'm sinking for the third time, in which case draw a line going down like that? Are you feeling, well, okay, I can just about manage, and so you draw a line in around there? Or are you feeling, actually, I'm loving this. I'm energized, I'm excited, I'm seeing new opportunities, I'm managing, I'm actually loving to work from home. My gosh, I can get the wash done and then do this and then sit down at the computer. So run this off or duplicate it very, very simply, and then fill this in on a regular basis. Now, I've lost the chat for a moment, but I'll get it back in a little bit. Maybe Zoryna can watch it. Because what I'd love you to do is in the little chat piece. I love interaction, and it really frustrates me that I can't see your faces. So would you just write what your stress level is, high, medium, or low, and then what your strain level is, high, medium, or low. And so if you could just pop that in the chat, that will then give me a feel in a little while as to how you all are out there. And Zoryna, if you gather several of those, maybe you can just chip in when you feel like you've got quite a bit of data. Okay. Here's another very simple one for you to do. And again, these are so good to do with your family. And so just gather them around and have a little chit chat, or your team at work, and say, first of all, what are the things that suck my resilience? Now, you know what that is. It's feeling like somebody plugged in an electrical plug to you and just sucked all the electricity out of you, and you just, like the Wicked Witch, just disappear. So the resilience suckers, there are certain people, we just think of them and we go, ugh. There are certain activities, forms you might have to fill, things you might have to do. There might be places in the day where we used to go places that you would think about going, and then miscellaneous. This is a little mini map. Think about those and write them down. So this can be done when you have a minute, when you take that little tea break or coffee break, pop off and do that. It's usually easier to think of the negative ones first. So do that one first and then come over here. Now this one are the things that fill you up, that make you feel resilient, that make you feel good. So who are the people that just even a couple of minutes on the phone will make you feel better? Who are those? List them. What are the activities, that special cup of tea, that going for a run, that sitting calmly? In England at the moment, we have beautiful weather. If you're fortunate enough to be able to get outside, get some fresh air, and just, what things build your resilience? Were there places that you could go that even in your imagination, just imagine yourself there and you can feel yourself hearing the gentle lapping of the water and the gulls squeaking in the sky, and whatever that might be, and then miscellaneous. Now, the thing is that we have to often do these. And so when in a day you've got some of these coming up, make sure you balance them by coming over here and rewarding yourself by keeping your resilience high. Because when you keep your resilience high, you'll be able to manage these much better, and they won't be able to have the power over you to suck your energy away. And we don't want that to happen. Next. Oh, I meant to say, sometimes I get a little over enthusiastic and go a bit fast. I have a lot to cover, and the instructions, as I said, are written in. But if you have a question, please just put it in the chat. And again, Harriet and Zoryna will stop me and interrupt me if there's something that is needing to be answered now. So I'm happy to have that happen. Another term for resilience is bounceability, and I love that term. And so I found this lovely image of the ball, beautiful and round and happy, coming along, but then things started to go wrong. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly had personal experience when not one thing, not two things, but just about everything in your life that is important goes wrong. Now, look at this ball down here. He's squashed. He's saying, ouch. And what I want to say is it's really important to be real. And when things happen that are bad and upsetting, it's right to be sad, depressed, upset, angry, frustrated. It is right to have those emotions. And those emotions are energy. And actually, some of our most beautiful music and amazing stories and amazing paintings have been done when people were feeling those emotions so strongly. The key to it is to have those emotions, to be with them, but to know you won't be there forever. That's the really important thing. Be with it, and then know I'm going to be able, step by step, increment by increment, to come back out. And then slowly you will regain your gorgeous roundness and you'll be able to bounce upon your way again. So that is really important. And here is a resilience map. I used to teach mind mapping all over the world, and so I'm afraid I still do maps all over the place. And this, again, I've given you in the handout so you can duplicate it. And what if you have, say, 3 of you in your team or 3 in your family? You can add lines very easily if there's more of you. What would you do for yourself, each one of you, that would be special to build your resilience? What could you do as a family to build your resilience? And if your family is apart from you, then talk on these various wonderful electronic means and get together and do it that way. What about work can you do to build your resilience? Checking in with each other. How are you doing? Allowing people to give you the or the is so important. I've given you a blank one here. You can make that one up. What play are you doing? And I can't stress enough how important it is to play, to find some things, to do some coloring, to just do some nonsensical fun stuff. I also can't stress enough how important is a schedule, particularly for those of you with children. And I really recommend sort of 20-minute blocks, 25-minute blocks, and doing little things in bites, really concentrating and then moving, doing something different. Think about your eating and work with your exercise. So that gives you a whole lot of areas you can work together. Now I'm going to hand you over to Zoryna, and she has the next slide to give you some fabulous things about what is resilience.
Thank you, Vanda. My question is, would you like to know results of the chat, or would you like me to come back to them later?
If there's something relevant, please do tell me, or how many people said how they were doing with the stress and the strain.
Okay, I didn't count them specifically, but what I did, I made a note about how people assess themselves. And it seems to be a trend that on the top, we have people who have medium, the highest number of people with medium number or level of stress and strain, both. Then second next is a group of people who have high level of stress and high level of strain, and everything else is going lower. So we have a little peak here.
Thank you, Zoryna. That's very, very helpful. Much appreciated.
Okay, you're welcome. And so we are looking now at what makes us resilient. What are key characteristics of resilient people? And there is a lot of research done in the world in different countries. But for me, there are three top qualities. First of them is acceptance of reality. Second, believe into the life that it is meaningful despite and regardless whatever difficulties we can experience, and also uncanny ability to improvise and ask for help. I assume some of you have heard about Stockdale paradox. Have you heard it? Some may not. There is a great book called Good to Great. So in this book, Jim Collins told a story about Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was captured by Viet Cong and spent 8 years in captivity. So journalists asked the Admiral, who survived, who made it through the captivity? Were those people optimists? And Jim Stockdale said, no, the optimist died first. How it possible, journalist inquired. And then Admiral said, well, when we were captured, the optimists were all excited and were telling to everyone and themselves that as soon as Easter comes, we will be free. And then Easter came and gone. And then they were started saying about Independence Day and Thanksgiving and Christmas. And all those holidays came and gone, and we were still in captivity. And then another Christmas came, and they all died. I think they all died of broken hearts. And for me, this story just emphasizes how important it is to accept reality as it is. Many of you who are optimistic, more optimistic than others, and particularly people who live in the UK, you probably have experienced some sort of setback recently in recent days when government said that we are going to extend lockdown, when there are more and more voices about no return to normal until at least next year, maybe longer. And those of us who are very optimistic, they felt it as a setback. But those who accept reality, they start thinking immediately about, okay, so this is what it is. It's going to last longer. What we are going to do about it. So think about this quality, how it relates to you and what you can do about it. The next one is believe in the life that is meaningful. Another book I want to show you, you might have chance to read it sometime. It is a book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search of Meaning. For those of you who don't know, Viktor Frankl was a very famous psychiatrist, psychologist who was Jew, and he was sent into a prison camp during the Second World War. And he decided for himself that as a scientist, he will have a purpose. He wants to survive. He wants to study human spirit and human resilience. And it applied both to inmates, to prisoners and their guards. He wanted to study human nature and human resilience in this horrendous situation of the prison camp. And this is the thing which allow him to survive, went through the war, went through the imprisonment, get back to the normal life stronger than ever before. And he continued his work inspiring people to be strong and to be resilient. There was also some other research done which support this idea about the importance of meaning. some of the insurance companies, when they looked at risk assessment tools, they discovered that actually people who survived Holocaust, even despite the fact that they had a lot of illnesses, despite the fact that they went through very stressful periods, somehow they tend to survive longer and have overall better quality of life. There are many reasons or many hypotheses which were put forward why it is. One of them was those people who survived the most difficult situations, they emerged having renewed sense of purpose, sense of meaning in their life, and therefore they were more resilient than others. And then the third quality here, third characteristic of resilient people is about ability to improvise. And it does include our ability and willingness to ask for help. A few years ago, the Search Institute in Minneapolis looked into resilience of young people who were disadvantaged. And what researchers discovered is that those young people who were able to ask others for help, who were able to improvise and make do with what they had much better outcomes, life outcomes, long-term outcomes, as compared to their peers who were relying only on themselves, and they were less inventive, less able to improvise and get adapted. So those three qualities are essential for us to be resilient. And we can be resilient with just one of those qualities, but if we have all three of them, we can be really, really resilient. And research shows again that those people who are less resilient when they're born, they have better capacity and bigger capacity to develop their resilience. In your handout, you will see little document with instructions about how you can develop in yourself all those qualities. And next slide, please, Vanda. Thank you. And also in your handout, you will have information about different tools and techniques which you can use to develop resilience in your teams. Being dispersed team is against our human nature. We are social beings. We want to be together. We want to interact. And we want to interact at several levels. One of them is human interaction, where we just two human beings with our personal interests, or more human beings, we just like each other's company. And this is where we can create virtual water cooler sessions, where via Zoom, Teams, or other means, we can come together maybe for 10-15 minutes every few days, and we can chat about everything except of work. This what gives us this human element. And also we can use problem solving in virtual teams method or technique, where we can have a certain problem. Say, for example, how to cover core hours in situation of lockdown, when we are working from home, when we have children to look after, some of us. How can we make sure that core hours are covered? And this is where we can come all together, different people from different parts of organization, and decide how to ensure this. And when we are working together, we are gaining more than just solution of the problem. We are gaining motivation, we are gaining lifting of our spirit and overall well-being. And also decompression sessions, particularly important for leaders, for managers who tend to look after everyone, but they forget to look after themselves. So having one-to-one decompression sessions where you can let steam off will be very helpful for you. Remember about yourself, every single one of you, whoever you are human beings, and you need to remember about your own well-being if you want to help others. And on this point, I will give floor to Vanda to continue with helping you to train your mind and brain to be exceptionally resilient in this difficult time.
Thank you, Zoryna. That was fantastic. Really good additional points there, and good additional backup handouts for you to take. Now, very serious research says that there is a direct link between your derriere and your brain. And the longer that you sit on your derriere, the poorer your brain functions. So would you please all stand up with me and get yourself out of bed, get yourself off the sofa, get yourself up, and begin by just dropping your head down and then allowing your body to flop towards the floor. And should you find your knees somewhere close, slap them, and then slap your thighs, and then particularly give a good pummel to your derriere, and then slap your body, and then across your shoulders and down your arms, and then your head. Oh, that feels good. And finally, do I hear you? Did you do that? And now you can sit back down again, and just even doing something like that for, what did that take? A couple of seconds. Woo, body's woken up, brain's woken up. Well, mine has. I hope yours has too. And now I'm going to share with you very quickly, but you have supporting materials, so I will go through it and just explain each of the steps, the 8 steps to Mind Chi. And again, just to refresh, stress is the load applied. It's everything that's happening every day. And strain is the level of your deforming. It's the place where you first, I call it the little flag, the soft spot in your body. Is it that you get a sore throat? Do you get a bad neck? Do you get jaw ache? Does your tummy get upset? There's always one piece of you that just goes flag waving, hello, hello, take attention. That's when it's beginning to show the strain. Now, Zoryna shared with me that quite a lot of you are in the high stress, high strain level at the moment. This is really a time when you must take care of yourself. Burnout is not something to go to. Burnout can take ages to come back from, and you need to catch yourself before you get to that point. So please practice and use the information you've had from today and head back in the good direction on that graph. Another definition of resilience, the ability to absorb the load, deform, remember that ball that got squashed, but then return to the original form. But my belief is you're actually better. After you've been tested and you've come through it, you are better, you are stronger, you are really knowing that inside of you, you can manage the next thing and the next thing if you have to. So there is an assessment that looks at your resilience in your handouts. So we won't take time to do it now, but if you can take time to do it, and part of the reason it's really important to do it quickly, soon, like in the next couple of days, is because if you would then do 28 days of the 8 minutes I'm about to teach you, then you can do one before and one after and see if it's made any difference. People respond to different things, and I'm just offering this, and we're offering different strategies. Have to find the one that suits you. Here, I particularly wanted to talk about the fact that on the responses to this, and we've given you yes or no, if you're like me, you probably want to be able to say somewhere in the middle, and that's perfectly all right. So by all means, do the middle line as well. Just the resilient responses of 1 through 5 would be that the answer is no. And then the resilient responses to the other ones would be yes. And this is just to say, if you have got a no and a yes in a different direction there, then it's important for you to start to take attention to that. And the other thing is, like Zoryna was saying, realistically positive. So looking and knowing where you are, but being realistically positive. And then there's the assessment to do with the strain. And so again, go through these. Here the score is 0 to 10, anything below 5, and you need to be able to sort of go, I need to spend some time on this. So without further ado, here is the Mind Chi 8-step, 8-minute routine. It is very, very simple. You can do it anywhere, not driving, but you can do it anywhere else. So there's the start is the first quarter with 2 parts to it. Then we look at our past with 2 parts to it. And you can see the logical progression here. 2 parts to do with now, and then 2 parts to do with the future. So that's all it is, and I will explain each activity. The first step, we control our body. Now, the power of breath is enormous. And although our brain is only about 4% of our body weight, it requires 20% of the oxygen of every intake of breath. And so what happens quite easily is that we're not giving our brain enough oxygen. I'd like you to place one hand high on your chest and the other one on your 6-pack. It's there you are, on your 6-pack. Some of you have been working on your abs and you've probably got the best abs in town, and others of you may be having to dig for them a little bit, but there you go. Now I'd like you to do a couple of breaths, and I would like you to note which hand moves more. Is it the upper hand? Is it the lower hand? Both hands about the same? No movement. Now, if you can again in the chat, would you just chat in there, write in there, which of your hands were moving more? If you have children particularly, you'll know when they're anxious, they do little short type breaths. And that's just using a small part of your lungs and not giving all of that oxygen that is necessary to your brain. There are so many different breathing styles and types. And those of you who do yoga and forms of meditation probably know several. We've chosen the square belly breath because it requires your attention. And basically what you do is you breathe in. I'm suggesting a count of 3. If you do breathing exercises, you can go longer. But the important thing, all sides of your square are the same length. So if you breathe in for 3, 2, 3, hold your breath for 3, 2, 3, breathe out for 3, 2, 3, and stay empty for 3, 2, 3, and then repeat. And if you see that as a square in your head, and just breathe in, hold, out, empty. Teach this to your children. Do this with your team. If you have a difficult meeting, start it off by doing this breath. Now that we've taken control of the body, and that does just immediately stop a negative automatic reaction occurring in your body from stress. Now we take care of the mind. And here what we're doing is looking at getting our concentration working, getting our focus. And so for 1 minute, what we do is concentrate on 1. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, that's simple enough. And sure enough, you start off and you think in your head, 1, 1, 1, and you might be thinking, this is really easy. As soon as you have another thought, you go up a number. So that's 2, 2, 2. What am I eating today? Oh, 3, 3, 3. My nose itches. 4, 4, 4. And so now, again, with this, it's just like looking in the mirror and seeing what you see. It's just to find out how is your brain at the moment. If you know you have a complex thing coming up that you really have to concentrate, find out where you are after you've done this activity. And if you're up in around the 15 or the 20 mark by the time your minute is up, then do something that you know will help you to calm and focus. It might be a busy thing. It might be a calming thing. If you're still on 1 or 2 at the end of your minute, then say, bring on that difficult thing. Let me do it. So that has now taken control of our body and our brain in the first 2 minutes. Now we go to the past, and these are rather interesting. We look at the past 24 hours, we rewind as if we were just running a video back quickly. And step 3 is where we look over that past 24 hours for the things where in our heart of hearts, we know, I didn't quite, Vicky was saying, snappy. I didn't quite handle that the way I would have liked to. I didn't think about that the way. I didn't do that the way I would have most liked to. And the only reason we just recall it quickly is to think, how would I have rather had this happen the next time, because nearly always these things happen with those closest and dearest to us. It's our children, our partners, our close team workers. They're the ones that get the brunt of this. And so what you want to say is, what would I have rather done? If this occurs again, what should I do? And then start to make a plan to do those things. Now you count those negative on whichever is your non-dominant hand as you go through that minute. And then we do the second part, which counterbalances that. Step 4, where we go back and we say, excuse me, where are our successes? What did we do well? And it might be that we caught ourselves from not doing one of those negatives we've done previously. This is why it's so important to do this on a daily basis, because it really does build. Excuse me a minute. Too much enthusiasm. Right. So now what you do is on your dominant hand, you count all your successes, those little things, you know, I worked hard at that. I really did my best. I was pleased the way that came out. Gosh, I got into the corner of the house and cleaned that. I haven't done whatever it might be. And please do this with your children. It's so easy for them to have a very small self-confidence. And this can help build it up. So every day you think of your good things. If somebody does have a small self-confidence, then write them, capture them, journal them, and just keep a hold of them. Put them on pretty colored paper and put them in a jar. So you, when you're feeling a little dented, you can go and go, yes, I really am doing okay. Now, you've then captured those on your dominant hand. And at the end of those 2 minutes, whichever is your non-dominant hand with the negative, blow them, wipe them off, say, thank you very much. I've learned the lessons and I will let go. And the positive ones, hold on to those, put them in your pocket, put them in your little positive jar, make a success deposit in your success bank, and just really remember those. But the important thing is the past is past. Now you leave it behind, put it behind you, and now you're ready to have a fresh tomorrow. Which leads us to the third quarter, and that is now. Some of you may have heard of cognitive behavioral therapy. This is kind of based on this. It's what I call the down and dirty of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's how to be able to manage yourself in the now. So with me, touch your thumb to the first finger. And this is where you think about your beat, B standing for body. And I do like a quick X-ray. And I think, okay, am I sitting nicely on my sitting bones? Am I putting my shoulders back? Because when we're over the computers, we tend to hunch very easily. How is my bodily state? Then my E, emotions. How am I feeling? Which emotional room? And I think of it as 2 rooms, a long corridor with 2 sets of rooms. On one side are all the negative emotions, and on the other side are all the positive ones. And if you found you wandered over into the grumpy or the frustrated room and you're checking your beat and you go, uh-oh, I'm there. Question, is this helping me at this time? Answer, probably not. Question, what would serve me better? What emotion would serve me better for what I have to do now? And I, in my mind, stand up, walk into the corridor, and I look at the wonderful choice of all the marvelous positive emotions there are. What's the best one? Is it for me to be flexible? Is it for me to be attentive? Is it for me to be my most brilliant self? What is the emotion that I need for now? So that's E. A is a little fuzzy, and of course, obviously, all of these intermingle, but just to pick them apart to help us be more clear, A is, are you only putting the right amount of energy into what you're doing that is necessary? So someone's sending an email when they're happy, someone's sending one when they're cross. So just the right amount of energy. And T is your thoughts. And that's that little voice, which I know you have in your head going on, and it's talking to you. And unfortunately, research says that much of the time it's doing negative. It's saying, oh, you screwed that up. Oh, you haven't done that well. Oh. And that is not helpful. So throw and say, thank you for sharing to that voice, and say, what I'd like to have is my cheerleader, the one that goes, yay, you can do it one more time. Like you would speak to a little 4-year-old when they've achieved something or in the process of achieving something. Speak to yourself like that. So those are your thoughts. So in no time at all, but here when you're doing the proper 8 minutes, you take a whole minute to go through and see what's happening. And the second minute to choose, what do I want to have happened? What do I want? Do I need to move my body a little bit? Do I need to get up? Which room do I need to be in for my emotions? Am I just curtailing, wasting my energy? And are my thoughts helping me? Now, in a difficult meeting, or when you have to get ready to do something you're a little bit apprehensive about, quickly check your beat and choose in that moment what it is you want. Control over you to be the you want you to be. Really, really important. Marvelous. And now we're on the final quarter, and that is where we go into the future. And so here, what we, wrong one. Here, what we think about is going forward the next 24 hours. Now, you probably have a fairly good idea of what you have to do, but we are human beings, not human doings. So how do you want to be for what you have to do? And so what you think about is, what precious times might I have with my family? What times might I have, as Zoryna was talking, water cooler moments to chat with important people in my life? What about myself? How do I want to be for this next 24 hours? And choose those emotions. And the final minute is a minute of gratitude for what you have or will be grateful for. Now, there's a lot of research that says that this really does help us to be able to keep ourselves healthier longer. And it's also lovely because what it does is all through the day, you're now looking for those little moments of gratitude, moments of contentment that you're going to recollect when you do your 8 minutes of mind chi in the final minute. And there is so much to be grateful for. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves, if we've got in that dip apart a little bit and we're feeling a little depressed and low, just think about how many things we do have going for us and what we have to be grateful for. And that's how you end your 8 minutes. So you can see it is very simple. There is a little cheat sheet with this map and a quick description of each of the minutes. There is also a link through to the 9 steps, and I think I only saw 8 on that handout. So there is actually 9 steps, 8 of them teaching you the steps like I just have, and the final one that is just timing you. There's an app out that can time you on the app for the iPhones only, and you could download the 9th of those slides and just play that if you want an easy timing. So that's all it is. It's very simple and done repeatedly. It is very, very powerful. In your notes as well, we've given you a 28-day tracker. 28 days begins to create a new neural pathway for your brain. Now, you'll probably, because it's a new habit, miss a day or two. Smile sweetly, say to yourself, jolly good. I was busy on those days. I'm going to do it now. Now, the more you can start to do this with family, the better it is. Some people lock themselves in the toilet, so that's the only place where they can get some peace and quiet. That's fine. If you can have a same time every day, it really helps. Like first thing in the morning is brilliant. I love to do mine in the middle of the day if I possibly can, or at the last thing of night, whichever works for you as you can in your new schedule. And just do it for today. Just take one of the activities we've shared with you. Just do something each day just for you, just for today, so that you can have control of you. And there's that formula, E plus R equals O. The event is we're in the middle of the situation. The response is your control, under your power, and that will be your outcome, how you will manage and go forward. There is also 50 different ways you can apply this. So you take the basic 8 minutes and you can apply it to all kinds of different problems and goals. And that brings us to your beginning and our end. And Zoryna and I particularly want to say thank you. We also very much want to say that this is not the beginning of a relationship. We would like you to stay in touch with us. So send us the questions, talk to us. We are very happy to support you as much as we can.
Some of the people asked about links to research. Some of the links to some of the research that I mentioned are in your handouts. You will be able to access it, but I'm happy to send you some more links to other interesting research. And just to reinforce what Vanda said, I'm very happy for you to contact me directly. And if I can help you in any way, I will. Thank you.